Today's video, I want to take some time and talk to you guys about a topic that's like really near and dear to me. And that topic is dealing with depression when you quit smoking weed or when you quit an addiction. And this topic of depression means a lot to me because over the years, depression is something that I've personally struggled with on and off. And I've had many family members who have suffered from severe depression. And I really want to take some time and shed some light on this topic. I want to start this conversation by reading to you guys a comment from an user on our YouTube Addiction Mindset community here. Over a month sober from weed, still vaping nicotine salts, still depressed as hell. Sometimes I want to start smoking again because I feel it didn't change much. And then they're asking me my thoughts on this. And if I were talking to this person, I would have 3 questions for them. My first question would be, why did you quit smoking weed in the first place? Were you truly less depressed while you were smoking weed? And I want to explain this by giving you guys examples from my story with weed addiction. So when I was addicted to weed, I wasn't happy with my financial situation. I wasn't happy with my job. I wasn't happy with a handful of bad relationships I was getting myself into with people. There was a lot of things. I wasn't happy with my physical health. I was truly depressed about those things. And weed did an excellent job of numbing that emotion of depression. But now, stepping back from a duration of time being sober, it's very obvious to me that a lot of the things that I was personally depressed about, weed was actually creating circumstances that fed into that depression. Like I didn't get the better job or get better with my finances or land a healthy relationship until I got sober from weed. So my question would be, is weed really truly helping you with the depression? And it might be. Or is weed simply a temporary solution to depressing circumstances that weed addiction has created in your life? And that certainly turned out to be the case for me. So that would be my first question to you. Why did you want to quit weed in the first place? Is one of the reasons why you wanted to quit smoking weed because you were struggling with depression, even though you were still smoking weed? Like, has the depression always been there? And if so, was the depression actually amplified by weed? And did smoking weed simply decrease some of the depression caused by weed addiction? That'd be my first question. My second question would be this, and it's more of a statement. I'd say, look, you're only a month into your sobriety, and that's awesome. Like, that's incredible. That's amazing progress. But you're so early on in this process. That's only 30 days. That's only a few hours when we add up those hours in totality. So one, you're really early on, and maybe that depression lifts at 2 months. Maybe it lifts at 3 months, maybe a little bit longer, but that would be my first statement. Now, my question would be is what have you done throughout your recovery process to help manage the depression? So for me, I know I wasn't happy with my physical health, so I started working out and I started eating healthier, and that increased my confidence. And with increased confidence, I had less depression. When I started to feel better physically and get more energy, that started to decrease my depression. I put in a lot of effort into my recovery and sobriety process, and I continue to put forth effort. And recovery and sobriety takes work. You can't just expect to quit and that all these things are going to magically feel better. Like I still talk to a psychologist on a regular basis when I'm feeling down. I still exercise daily. I still try and eat healthy. If I go out, binge eat a bunch of junk food, definitely if I drink alcohol, 2 days later, I'm going to wake up feeling really depressed. And part of that is because I don't like the way I treated my body, but even more so, maybe it screwed up my sleep. Maybe, I was up late browsing social media all night long, which has been proven to make people more depressed. So now you have insomnia on top of social media binging. And of course, you just don't feel good about yourself after doing those things. So I had to change a lot of my habits and a lot of my routines, because for me, the depression was multifactorial. It wasn't just one thing. So that would be my second question to this user is, what things have you done in your recovery to snap out of that depression? Like, do you have hobbies that you started to partake in that make you feel better, that help to ease that depression? You know, I got really into YouTube. I got really into editing videos. I got really into other hobbies and other lifestyle changes that I made. Have you done those things? That would be my second question to you. My third question, or again, more of a statement, would be is that I find depression is oftentimes a symptom of something else. Now, maybe depression is the symptom of endocannabinoid deficiency, and maybe weed really is a good solution to that. Maybe depression is a serotonin deficiency or a dopamine deficiency associated with ADHD that's never been diagnosed. Maybe depression is related to a vitamin or a micro or macronutrient, a micronutrient deficiency, such as like having really low vitamin D levels. I'm from New York. It's crappy out here most of the time, weather-wise. I had super low vitamin D levels. I had super low magnesium levels when I ran blood work on myself. And just taking some supplements was a big help with that. Getting outside was a big help with that. So I would just ask you, is depression, the depression that you're experiencing, the result of some other underlying physiological cause? Or as I mentioned earlier, is it the result of circumstances created by the weed addiction itself? So what's really causing the depression? And have you worked with a professional, or have you done a lot of self-work to try and figure that out, to try and put yourself in a situation to better that scenario? So just something else to think about. Now, lastly, when it comes to depression, a lot of people will say, well, Dr. Frank, I'm going to go see the doctor and they're going to just put me on Zoloft, and I don't want to take medications. I'd rather use cannabis. And I completely agree with that. Like, I'm not against that statement. And guys, please, this is a conversation for you and your psychologist, psychiatrist, or you and your physician. So make sure you have this conversation with them. So if this person goes to the doctor and the doctor says, hey, I want to put you on Zoloft for your depression, I think you have to start to weigh the pros and cons of that. If weed addiction is destroying your life, maybe you're suffering from Cannabinoid Hyperemesis Syndrome, and it's really truly destroying you physically and mentally, maybe Zoloft would be a better alternative to cannabis for you. It's like someone who's coming off of heroin or some other drugs and they're prescribed Suboxone. Yeah, they're still using a drug, but maybe now this person can maintain a job. Maybe now they can maintain a relationship. Maybe now their quality of life is improved. Cannabis is a great medical drug, but it's not for everyone. Maybe there's another drug for this person, or maybe you assess this situation, you talk with your doctor, you talk with your therapist, whoever, and you guys determine that actually weed is a positive in your life and it's a benefit in your life. And maybe you go back to using cannabis in a more medical manner. Maybe it wasn't an addiction that was crippling your lifestyle. For me, I didn't want cannabis. I didn't want medications. I wanted to do like the deep work, like this hard work, to try and figure out how to manage the depression and to try and figure out how to get through it kind of holistically or naturally. Because when I look back at my life, there was so many causes of the depression, and some of those things still exist today, right? Like I have parents are divorced, this, that, ups and downs of my professional life. Like there's still depression, challenges that relationships may pose. It still exists. It's just now, instead of reaching for a drug, I'd rather reach for some other tool that I've learned and that I've gained throughout my recovery and sobriety process to manage it. I really hope this video helps this person out here in our Addiction Mindset community. If you struggle with anxiety from smoking cannabis or quitting cannabis, why don't you follow me into the next video where I talk a little bit about my relationship with cannabis and the anxiety that I experienced. I'll see you guys in the next video.